What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark Prime. At least I think I am. Would I know? But do we do we know if we're not Prime? Anyway, I'm a blind film critic, and this is Mickey 17. So it has to do with copying people, which is why I made the joke. Click like and subscribe if you like weird and uncomfortable jokes at the beginning of all of your videos, because they're not always guaranteed to be winners, but they're guaranteed to be groaners. Anyway, um, Mickey 17 is Bong Joon-ho's latest entry, and he's always sort of an interesting director who makes the kind of bold, smart, original storytelling choices that even when he's adapting something, it feels like uniquely auteur in style. Like he manages to take something and make it not feel like an adaptation, like it's uniquely Bong Joon-ho. He could probably do just about anything and somehow make it feel like him. I'm not saying he should do a Marvel movie, but he probably could do a Marvel movie and it would still feel like a Bong Joon-ho movie. So his very sort of specific style, oftentimes it blends sort of an absurdist look at society and the evolution of a class system, and how that how that has led to often the the haves evolving into sort of a little bit of this completely unrelatable style of human, and then the have-nots are usually the ones that we can relate to. So clearly he has a lot of thoughts, and sometimes you get people who are the wealthy or the powerful, and they're also kind of gaudy and garish in nature and cartoonish in style, and I think that's what has put some people off with Mickey 17, but we'll talk about that. So it stars Robert Pattinson, Stephen Yuen, Mark Ruffalo, Toni Collette, Naomi Aki, and Micah Monroe. And it is a sci-fi action horror quasi-comedy. I don't know. It's really hard to box it all in. It's about 2 hours and 15 minutes long. You should know that it's a little bit longer than usual before jumping in to this. And a lot of the comments that have already been said about Mickey 17 are absolutely true. The film has parts that lagged and I was less interested in them, and it had other parts where I was like, this is the movie, this is the shit, this right here. We are locked and loaded. I love what's happening here. And then you veer into territories that you're like, I don't know. And all of this is based on an adaptation. Like, I haven't read Mickey 7, which is the book that Bong based this on. And I don't know how much he felt like he needed to carry over, or if it was just like a translation thing for him, like trying to, when you see like a source material and you're like, what do I keep? What do I not keep? And it's like, what's your takeaway? Often when you read a book, you're like, well, this is my takeaway. This is what I remember. And it could be different from somebody else's, or it could be different from the author's original intent. And then you want to adapt it for cinematic purposes, so you sort of take liberties. And it's sort of interesting to think about how Bong makes that. And like I said, he has a very specific style. He has a very predictable style. And he's trying to apply what we've seen with his previous films here, so that you have a little bit of that Snowpiercer vibe, right? You have a little bit of that class system clash, a little bit of the bottom feeders are just that, and we make no ifs, ands, or buts about that. We're gonna exploit them as much as humanly possible. But it tells the story sort of from Mickey's perspective, and we are introduced at the beginning to Mickey 17. It's almost impossible to not talk about this movie on some level without spoiling it. So, not heavily, like I'm not gonna be like, the movie ends with this, but I don't know what you've seen in trailers. So, beware. I also can't functionally talk about this movie on any level, even though it's not really a twisty treat of a movie. This is not like Shyamalan. There is sort of a twist that it's possible. I don't watch trailers anymore. I don't know what's in the trailers, and they're pointless. I don't know. Sometimes they reveal too much now. Anyway, uh, yeah, I have no idea. So we open up with Mickey 17, and he's in a bit of a pickle. When we first meet him, he has fallen to the bottom of a crevasse, and he's not looking good. It's not looking good for him, and he's waiting for help. His buddy comes down. It's played by Stephen Yuen, and offers. He's like, "Oh man, your flamethrower is still good." He takes the flamethrower back and he leaves Mickey down there. And we find out that the reason why he leaves Mickey down there is because Mickey is part of a clone system. So when Mickey dies, he just gets reprinted, and you learn all about the story of Mickey being on Earth and sort of getting into debt, and how we live. This is sort of a dystopian future, where we're able to sort of leave the planet and people are go out and exploring space and jumping on spaceships and trying to get into these missions. So Mickey signs up to be an expendable on a mission, and everybody looks at him like he's crazy. Like, you're actually signing up to be an expendable? Because what an expendable is somebody who dies repeatedly and then gets brought back. Like, it's just somebody who dies, who is put into situations where either the probability of them dying is high or intentionally so. Like, they're used to almost like for human trials. Like, if you wanted human trials and you wanted the person to be able to give you feedback of, there's some really sort of kind of really dark scenes where they're like, yeah, we need you to describe what it's like dying. You know, when is your skin starting to melt, those kind of things. And yeah, you know, he's that's kind of what some of the earlier Mickeys go through. He has sort of a series of rather horrifying, grim situations that he's put into where he dies. So he becomes responsible, though, for something, because of multiple deaths of his lead to. So he feels sort of proud in knowing that some of his deaths led to this sort of innovation, I guess you could say. But so we learn about his past deaths and sort of that system, and we learn a lot about the copying and how Earth, of course, sees it. Of course, it's an abomination, right? And he's on this crew where the leader of it is this sort of like failed politician played by Mark Ruffalo, and his wife played by Toni Collette, who are sort of like leading the mission, and sending, and these people all sort of live and work for him, and they're off to this planet. They're sort of alien life forms. I think it was Naomi Aoki's character who pointed out that, you know, that they're not the aliens we are. You know, when we land on their planet, we become the aliens. Like, they're the indigenous creatures to that planet. They're not, you know, it's a perspective thing, because, and I can't remember the last time a film actually talked about it that way, because we always think about things as being like aliens. Like, everything is alien to us because we're not aware of what it is. We don't know what it is. It's new to us. So it's alien, it's foreign. It's just this concept until it becomes real. So, but we also use it to describe people or things that don't belong where they are. And yeah, in that concept, we are the aliens. We have landed. For them, this is the day the Earth stood still. You know, this is that moment for them, and we're disrupting their natural ecosystem. So Ruffalo's character doesn't really care. He has a lot of thoughts, and or maybe no thoughts at all. I don't know. It's really hard to read some of these people. Like I said, Bong Joon-ho has a lot of thoughts about class system, and the wealthy versus the not, and politicians and all that kind of stuff. And if you just watch enough of his films back to back, you can kind of see that thread. I would definitely recommend, if you have not seen Bong Joon-ho film like Snowpiercer, watch something else before this. This is not his strongest work, but it reflects a lot of his ideology. I think Snowpiercer is probably my favorite film of his, which is why I keep referencing it. So we get we get a glimpse into this, and then it turns out the catch, the little twist, the one thing that I had to reveal because it sort of is like most of the movie, is that Mickey 17 didn't die, but Mickey 18 was printed. So then there are two Mickeys alive at the same time, which becomes hugely problematic, and it'll tell you why. It'll explain why two people being alive at the same time is problematic, and sort of banned and like illegal, all that kind of thing. And so they have to try to work together because neither one of them wants to die. Mickey 17 is like, I never died, so you shouldn't even be here. And Mickey 18 is like, well, I haven't lived yet, so time for you to die. So they have like this back and forth. And it's amazing to see Robert Pattinson create like two wholly realized versions of himself. And that's what I really appreciate about his performance is I still think about like him in the Twilight days. I'm like, what were you doing? I think the conception from everybody who wasn't just like enamored with his looks is that he just couldn't act. Like watching Twilight, you're just like, this guy's a terrible actor. This is a terrible movie. Like, I mean, it didn't do anybody any favors. Like, it just made everybody look terrible. I kind of wonder if like Taylor Lautner just hasn't been given the right role, because ever since Twilight, like Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart have both had much better roles given to them that have shown off their talent, and then he hasn't. He just kind of left him behind. But yeah, it's like it's just wild. He keeps growing as an actor and getting better and better. He was fantastic as Batman. He's great in Good Time. There's just so many things that Pattinson has continued to push himself in, and here he is again. And it's just like, it's the kind of role where I'm kind of floored. I really enjoyed his role here. I think he kind of carries the film. He's fantastic. As much as I love Stephen Yuen, I love seeing my Walking Dead family out there in the world doing great things, and I love that he's like an Oscar nominee and he gets all these big roles now. And I mean, his character just is like the best friend character. He doesn't do nearly as much as what Pattinson has to do. And the ladies, Naomi Aki's done a lot of really interesting work. Mika Moreau, last year with Long Legs. So I mean, they're up and comers, but it's Pattinson. Pattinson's the one who's carrying this film, and it feels that even more when you see the duality that he has to play against himself. And we see this all the time, but a lot of times it's the twin thing, right? It's the clone. There is no difference. I'm like the same person, or the differences are sort of nominal and barely noticeable. No, they're pretty wildly different people with different personality traits. And they sound different and everything. It's kind of amazing to think, and they're just supposed to be copies of themselves, but Pattinson has gone out of his way to make sure that you can distinctively know which Mickey is which. So I liked all of that. I think the score's great. Bong has a great ear for music and putting that into the film. And it's a little long. It lags. I think it loses a lot of the ideas that he's trying to do sort of in the middle of the film. It kind of he introduces it so well. Like, the beginning of the film is great. I love the beginning of the film, and then it just kind of wanders for a while. And some of it was good and some of it wasn't, and it kind of concludes, and I was like, okay, it's over. And a lot of what has to do with it is, even though I know what he's trying to do, because I've seen his previous work, and I mean, he likes to use Tilda Swinton a lot. I'm really surprised it's Toni Collette, not Tilda Swinton. Tilda was probably like, listen, I've done a lot with you, and I don't know if I'm wife of Mark Ruffalo. So he's playing around a lot with these eccentric characters that are like, seem almost like, what kind of weird future have we allowed ourselves to be? It's like watching Hunger Games and seeing the difference between Jennifer Lawrence and then like the Elizabeth Banks and Stanley Tucci characters. Like, there's like a wild difference between, and that's something that Bong does. Even though he never directed Hunger Games, I'm sure he would have loved that juxtaposition. This is what he's doing here, but there's something about the way that Mark Ruffalo and Toni Collette are used and are doing these roles. It's just really uncomfortable, and not in a good way. It's not in like a oh, well, that's fun. That's Tilda Swinton, you know, like that's just her doing her thing, you know, or Jake Gyllenhaal or somebody like that. It's not. I think they're trying to have fun with it. And I didn't think I'd ever get to the point where I wouldn't like a Mark Ruffalo and Toni Collette performance. And it's so weird. He's actually managed to give them the kind of feedback where I actually didn't like them at all. Not as people, but like as a performance. Like I didn't think this was a good performance from either of them. I just thought, I was like, what are they going for? I didn't understand. It felt like they were miscast. It felt like Bong saw something in them in their audition, but he couldn't translate that to the screen as for like what he was looking for. And uh, like Ruffalo, he pushed himself a little bit into the eccentric with Poor Things. That's not really what he's doing here. He's trying to, instead of being a little bit of a cad, and I don't, I don't know. He's kind of just like almost like the Kool Aid man of bad guys. Like he's just like I'm doing what I want to do because you know divine providence. Like I'm in charge. There's a little bit of a thing that he plays around with religion that's sort of tied to Ruffalo and Colette's characters, that they also are backed not just by the politics but also like religious backings. And Toni Collette just keeps talking about sauce all the time. And I'm just like, can she have something better to do? Like, I wanted her to have better scenes, better moments. And it's just, they're in too much of the movie for them to be so off-puttingly odd, and not a good way. Not in the typical Bong Joon-ho's viewpoint on society, but rather just the opposite, more like the oh, I don't really like what he's doing, and I don't understand I don't understand his thoughts. Like if I interviewed Bong, that would be the first thing I'd be like, what were you trying to get out of Mark Ruffalo and Toni Collette? Like, how did you see them? Because I don't think that translated to me. I just kind of saw them as being um, obnoxious for the wrong reasons, not for the right reasons, not for how he's reflected class previously, but just sort of obnoxious in the misdirected and miscast way. They didn't belong. They didn't fit in. They felt like they were trying to. So, yeah, they're kind of the biggest detractor, and the pacing, and Bong trying to explore other issues and tackle other topics. The first like half hour of this is fantastic. He doesn't even like the title of the film doesn't even come until like 30 minutes into the movie. Then they finally drop Mickey 17. I was like, oh damn, that's. I was like, I didn't even realize we hadn't done that yet. It's really late in the movie before you get the Mickey 17 title card. So, should you see Mickey 17? I think so, because there's still this sort of audacity in the way that Bong chooses to frame his movies and direct them in style. The audio description, which is deluxe, narrated by Laura Post, is really good. I thought the description, probably most important, was with the alien creatures, which are well described. And they're shaped out too, because they're not just these mindless things like in the Alien. To give, I guess, a chest burster is a chest burster. Does it have thought? Does it have I don't know if it has an emotion. It doesn't seem to. So I mean, they're very sort of one-dimensional horror machines, but these characters that he's created through these aliens that are just like, they're just not us. Like, we just don't understand them. And they have such a unique design to them, and they're all sort of various sizes and stuff. And I really loved how the description was done for that. I also really liked the death sequences. I mean, Mickey's sort of gory, occasionally gory deaths are appropriately and well described. So, and there's a lot of just general science fiction elements because, it does take place in the future. We are in space. So there are different things that it has to describe, which is always great. The more that you can do for things that are sort of futuristic and don't really have a base in reality, but are just sort of like concepts, or maybe based on a concept, but like a futuristic version of something that we have. As you're trying to describe something that would be maybe what we'd have 50 or 100 years from now, that version of it, that kind of tech later on down the line. But yeah, I thought the audio description was really good here, and I would make sure that you watch it with it. I don't know what to do with Mickey 17. I didn't think it was a bad movie because for a lot of the reasons why I say a lot of times with directors, there are some directors who just don't, they direct bad movies, and the movie's bad and it's not interesting, and it has no plot, it has no purpose, it has nothing. But there were movies last year I didn't like that were at least inherently interesting because they were taking risks and directors were trying to do something with them. So even though they weren't good and I didn't like them, I enjoyed watching those movies more than just some derivative crap that came off of a assembly line that felt like 500 other films you'd already seen. There's something about like the audacity of Joker Folie à Deux, that the uniqueness of it, that is sort of awe-inspiring to sit through at least once. But with Mickey 17, I actually did like the beginning of it. I actually do like Robert Pattinson's performance. So there are things here that I actually think are good. It's not like the film is, like, I struggle to find compliments. I'm not struggling to find compliments. I'm like, this is good. It's not ever really terrible, except for I just don't really understand what he's trying to do with Ruffalo and Collette. I kind of, that's probably maybe the weakest part for me. So, it's not a strong recommend for me, but I would rather have this than a lot of other films I've seen this year that just have no real purpose, no real talent, nothing to say. And so this one leans slightly positive. I'm gonna give Mickey 17 a C+. I wish it was stronger. But yeah, the longer the film stayed, I just was like, man, if this was like 15, 20, 30 minutes shorter, and we cut out some of the meandering second act, I don't know. But that's it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And I'll see you guys on the other side.